Hey guys, this is Francis Yang, back again with another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to build muscle with just calisthenics. So what I am going to tell you is, even if you're going to be using calisthenics, you need to be thinking and training like a bodybuilder. So what I mean by this is you have to do several sets of and reps of exercises. Don't do circuit training for just when you're trying to build muscle. I know my beginner workouts a lot of times use circuit training, but that's because you're a beginner. I'm trying to help you build endurance and progress through the basic exercises. For those who are actually trying to build muscle and have a specific goal in mind, I think it's better to just use several sets and reps of different exercises. Your muscle can't really tell the difference between calisthenics and weight training. Resistance is just resistance. So just apply the principles of bodybuilding to calisthenics. So that would be things like progressive overload and time and tension, which I will explain in more detail later. I'd say keep your sets to a moderate range, so like 3 to 5 sets of an exercise, and with your rep range, I'd keep it between 8 and 15. That's the ideal rep range to build muscle. If you go less than 8, you could get away with 6 or more, but I'd say on the safe side, keep it at around 8 to 15 reps. So if you go less than 8, you're focusing mainly on building strength. I'm not saying you won't build muscle this way, but it's more efficient to go into the 8 to 15 rep because it helps with hypertrophy more rather than strength. And if you go higher than 15, you're mainly focusing on muscular endurance. For this, you want to keep your rest intervals reasonably short, so about 60 seconds, maybe 1 to 2 minutes, 2 minutes at maximum. I know with calisthenics, it's harder than with weight training to keep your rest intervals short when you're trying to do the same exercise, but just drop the rep range down, or go into an easier exercise if you're not confident that you can meet the rep and set range. So we're going to move on to progressive overload right now. So progressive overload basically means that you have to keep doing harder exercises and keep making things harder on your body. You can't just stay at doing the same thing for the whole time. This is true for bodybuilding and calisthenics. With bodybuilding, once things get too easy, you increase the weight or increase the number of sets and reps. And then with calisthenics, you do pretty much the same thing. You can increase the number of reps you can do up until you reach that 15 point. And you can also increase the weight or resistance that you're working with. However, with this, instead of just adding weight, which is pretty hard when you're just using calisthenics, you have to manipulate leverages and move on to harder exercises. They should ideally target the same muscle groups in the same pulling movement. So, for example, if I'm doing a pull-up, that's a vertical pulling movement. And then to move on to a harder variation of this, you could do close grip pull-ups, or eventually work up to a one-arm pull-up. Same thing with push-ups. Push-ups are a horizontal pushing movement. So to progress from a push-up, you could move into diamond push-ups or wide push-ups. My next tip for you guys is regarding time under tension. Personally, I feel that time under tension is overrated as a great muscle building tool. And then you often hear bodybuilders talking about time under tension because it's so great, but I don't really think that you should train this way. I think progressive overload and moving on to harder exercises is more important than increasing the amount of time that your muscle is working by doing the same movement. However, that doesn't mean I would ignore it completely. I do use time under tension sometimes, just as a way to switch up my workout, or when I feel that I've hit a plateau and I can't move on. Then I would use time under tension just to change things up. For example, 5 seconds on the positive portion of the movement and 5 seconds on negative. So what this means is, for example, when you're doing a push-up, you want to take 5 seconds before you move completely to the top of the movement, and then take 5 seconds to lower yourself again, and then just keep doing this. It does make the exercise harder, but again, I wouldn't recommend it completely because I think just progressing on doing hard exercises is just more efficient. So the next things you guys should be doing is tracking everything that you do. So just writing everything down, like your workouts, to schedule what you eat, so that you can look onto it if you're not making enough progress. For example, if you're doing everything right, or you think you're doing everything right, and nothing happens after 3 months, if you have a record, you can look back on it and do self-reflection. See, why did this not work? Maybe you weren't working hard enough. Maybe you weren't doing enough sets or reps. Maybe you weren't progressing correctly. And this information you can only see if you record and track everything that you do. So we've passed the working out part of how to build muscle with calisthenics. I'm good to move on to the diet now. So diet should be pretty similar to how a bodybuilder would eat. So the most important thing you need to do is stay in a caloric surplus. That's how you're going to build muscle. For those who don't know, a caloric surplus is when you're eating more calories than what you're burning throughout the day. So if I can maintain my weight by eating 2,500 calories, my weight stays the same for weeks, months, then if I wanted to build muscle, I'd probably up it to 2,800 or 3,000 calories even. It's very difficult and complicated. I won't say it's impossible, but it's extremely hard to try and build muscle while you're in a caloric deficit. And even if you do end up building muscle, you're not going to be building as much as you would be if you were in a caloric surplus. And so for those people who are especially skinny, have a fast metabolism, for the ectomorphs, you need to be eating a lot more than you think you are right now. Even if you think you're eating a lot, if you're not getting enough weight, then obviously means that you're not eating enough. So obviously keep your diet high in protein, because you need protein to build muscle. So I'd say at least 0.8 times your goal body weight in pounds. That's how much protein you should be having every day. At least. And now my last tip for you guys is to have patience. Building muscle is a long, complicated process, and it takes a lot more time than burning fat would. So if you don't think you're seeing results in 1 month, just stick to what you're doing. Don't panic and change up everything. Stick to it and see maybe what happens after 2 or 3 months. And then if nothing happens after a very long time, then you can go back and evaluate what you did. But like I said, just have patience, and eventually you will see results. So that's all the information I have for today. If you have any questions, just leave it in the comment section below, and I'll answer them in a Q&A video. So subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and if you enjoyed this video, I don't know, support me, just give me a like. I'll see you guys next time.